right. First of all, thank you all that have joined. I know there'll be more people joining as we go along. Please do make sure your mics are on mute. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Michael Savides. I'm the chapter director for Startup Grind West LA. We are a community of over 7,000 members making part of our Startup Grind community. And it's a community that is ever growing, and there's continuously people joining that are adding value in their respective fields, and super excited to have our guests on today. So before we get started, just a few house rules, guys. If you have any questions for Adam, please put them in the chat. We can answer them towards the end of the interview or the fireside chat. And please engage, guys. It's a good opportunity to ask any questions, any advice you would want from Adam and the likes. So to get started, so for those of you that don't know, and those of you guys that are joining for the first time, Startup Grind. Startup Grind is a growing community of global entrepreneurs, which is powered by Google Entrepreneurs. And Startup Grind connects startups, entrepreneurs, and investors through the many stages leading up to the success of the company. We adhere to three main values: give, make friends, and help each other out. You will be surprised at our community of entrepreneurs, how it proves that the stronger we are together is in fact the reason why we are so successful. The whole startup grinding is make friends, not connections. So our today's guest, for those of you that don't know him, it seems like a lot of people that have joined do know Adam. So Adam is the CEO and founder of Speedlancer, and was or is still the world's fastest freelance marketplace, delivering design, writing, and data entry work in just 4 hours by curated freelancers. I absolutely love Speedlancer. So Speedlancer essentially helps those startups and those founders or as well as digital agencies, small and medium businesses, marketers, enterprise, just all creating an opportunity to get tasks done in the quickest and most effective way than ever before. I've seen this in this work before, and it's incredibly fascinating how Adam's built this company. And the quality is the main thing that I've seen the most with Speedlancer. And Adam, just before we get into it, is a serial entrepreneur. So those that don't know him, he started a 7-figure bootstrap business at the age of 14, and something that I really want to get into, Adam, because I did not know this myself, being your friend. And that was in the telecommunications space, so we can definitely get into that. And Adam was also the founder of Speedlancer Inc. Incorporated, where today we're going to be covering one of his new flagship products called StartADAM, which essentially stands for automated data, automated management. And it's a super exciting project. Adam had come to me with this project about 6 months ago, and it's just so exciting to see how fast you've progressed and the work that you've done and the actual problem you'll be solving. So before we get into it, Adam, thank you for joining today. How are you doing, mate?
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's a shame with these virtual events that it's weird to drink a beer, whereas in a real event, you can happily drink a beer.
You're more than welcome to drink a beer. I'm all for that.
I'll crack open a stubby,
I'll stop you before you start slurring your words.
Yeah, thank you.
So one thing that a lot of people don't know is that Adam has obviously a passion for future of work and specifically building technology companies. And the main thing is that it's helping the workforce. We all form part of organizations, we all form part of companies where we believe that the current processes and communication tools we use are somewhat ineffective or could be a lot leaner. And this is what Adam focuses on with his businesses. And for those of you that also don't know, Adam was a Forbes 30 under 30 list maker. It's not a very easy feat to make, and something that I think Adam's very proud of. And he's garnered attention from various publications along the way. And it's just an incredible opportunity to have Adam on Startup Grind West LA today. So, Adam, the first question that I'm going to lead with is that being a serial entrepreneur and having started your first business at the age of 14 in this telecommunications space, can you please just take us through what that business was, how you bootstrapped it up until it was a 7-figure business, and how at such a young age did you garner the inspiration and know how to do something of this nature?
So I'll start off with the inspiration, because I think that's normally the start of everything. I guess my dad has always been an entrepreneur, well, at least in my lifetime. He used to work at IBM and such, and then yeah, went into the business sort of landscape. But for as long as I can remember, I was surrounded by business talk, and eventually startup talk, I guess. But this was way before startups were a thing. And when I was 11, I think I started my first eBay business, and it sort of progressed from there. I remember we were living in Chicago, and I was selling BB guns online when I was like 11 or 12, storing them in my parents' basement. And when we moved back to Australia,
causing pain for kids all around Australia.
no, it was in Chicago, so it was
Chicago, yeah.
yeah, it was legal there. But then when we moved back to Australia, it was no longer legal. Their Class A weapons there, so I had to sell all the inventory, and that's when I wanted to start a new thing. And I remember talking to my dad about that business idea. I don't think he really understood it, but that was actually the one that ended up taking off, which was in the telecommunications space, this mobile phone sort of software that I was pretty much just reselling, but it we ended up becoming the number one retailer for this product over the course of the next few years. It helped people move phones to different providers. So if your phone was with one network and you wanted to move it overseas or to another provider, you could go through us. And we actually supplied some really big telcos as well.
Wow.
And my software was in like 160 retail stores, which was a whole other experience in itself. But yeah, it's a pretty cool experience.
And this was at the age of 14?
Yeah, I started that at 14, and then I started that with $50 maybe, and not even a WordPress site. I think it was on Freewebs, which was before webs.com. Maybe it was webs.com already, and then we started, and then I put it onto WordPress. I think WordPress.com and then WordPress.org. WordPress.com they host it for the hosted version, and WordPress.org is self-hosted. And then I hired my first developer when I was like 15, I think. An awesome dude named Mustafa.
That's insane, man. And going into the next question, the learnings that you garnered from this company, even though albeit was you selling a SaaS solution, it was a software technology, should I say, is obviously your most successful venture after that, I would imagine, was Speedlancer, and I stand to be corrected. But how did Speedlancer come about, and what age were you at when you started that company, and what was the process from ideation all the way to where it is today?
So it's funny, like Steve Jobs says that everything connects. Everything is a series of dots until you look backwards, and then you can draw a line. And I definitely see that with my journey. I just knew that that business was going to end, the mobile phone software one.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was a dying industry as iPhones were coming out and the whole landscape was changing. But what we did really well was I was in high school and university and had a team of probably 15, 20 people working for me at its peak. And I was able to outsource all of that to like a 10-minute work week for myself. And so that's where my interest in humans plus technology, humans plus processes really came from. Or it's sort of this intersection of humans, processes, and technology. It's like this triangle. I was speaking about this with someone the other day. Like, humans are so unpredictable. They're using processes and then using technology. You can create kind of perfect predictability around a system with enough data and enough modeling. You can predict how a system will work. Like, you look at really large organizations. An organization like Apple isn't going to go anywhere just because one person isn't achieving their job or doesn't come to work one day. The whole brand of Apple continues to exist, and I'm just kind of enthralled by that, because if you look at an individual person, you just see sort of different aspects of people's personalities, and so it's about harnessing those personalities and creating structure and a system around it to kind of harness those abilities even more. So with my phone business, we had a 66-page processes manual that kind of
Wow.
guided the whole business. And so when we had an enterprise client sign on for us, it took us about 2 weeks to onboard the entire enterprise client with a new support team, and a new sort of development thing and a POS solution and such. And that's, yeah, I think that was testament to that processes manual. And so with Speedlancer, that's what I always set out to do. I was speaking with Barreto, my CTO, who's online as well. Hey, Barreto. And he was sort of talking about how, what were we saying? Like processes, people, yeah, like the future of work is. I sort of lost my train of thought, but it's coming to me.
No, I'll bring it back to you. So I think I know where you were heading with this. Essentially, you were obviously talking about connecting these human behaviors.
It's creating software to sort of change the way that work itself gets done.
Yeah.
Thanks, Berto. Sorry to let you down there. It was like an hour ago that we discussed that. But that's what's funny about him saying that is we're working on this StartADAM software. Yet that was my vision from the start with Speedlancer. So it's the same entity creating a software to achieve the same vision, the same mission, which is using technology to change the way that work gets done. And so with Speedlancer, it's all about the atomification of work, or the taskification or gigafication of work, whatever you want to call it. And refactoring the way work gets done. Instead of hiring a sales team or a salesperson, you could hire a sales process. And with Speedlancer, we would do the lead generation, the copywriting, the outreach, even doing cold calls and lead gen follow-ups. And we would automate that with a string of tasks in a workflow. And a lot of that technology is what guided and actually was the impetus for this StartADAM product.
Okay, awesome. I think that makes sense to me, and obviously understanding both products now, I can definitely see the intersection. Okay, now so now with Speedlancer, obviously Speedlancer Inc has given rise to now StartADAM. Are you still working on Speedlancer, the company itself, and how are you going to be managing your time across the two businesses?
I see Speedlancer as the perfect use case for StartADAM, so we can really test our product internally as like the best customer. But that said, I think the software is really going to be where it's at. Over the last like 9 months or so, certainly since COVID, I've seen a proliferation of verticalized freelancing platforms, which is where I see that Speedlancer sits. So in some ways, I think 2022 is the year of the marketplace, or the people marketplace. We'll see if that comes true, but almost every day I'm seeing a new marketplace, which is just absolutely fascinating, considering in 2015, when I started Speedlancer, I went through 500 startups and everyone thought I was insane for not letting people choose their freelancers. And now you look at platforms, I mean, there's hundreds of them, like animation platforms, design platforms, content platforms. The idea isn't that you choose the person. The idea is that you want to get the task done. And then if it's not done well, you get a guarantee that the task will be done properly. But what's lacking is still this technology. And so that's where I see our advantage, is that over the last 5 years, certainly we've been developing technology that's proven out to be that no other marketplace has. And one of them is a communication interface, which we're calling StartADAM Connect, or StartADAM Marketplace Connect, which basically enables communication between contractor and client through whatever communication tools they like. So the client could be on Slack and the contractor could be on WhatsApp, or Discord to Telegram, or Slack to Microsoft Teams, very common one. And we're the only platform that can relay those, especially between a marketplace platform or between a project management tool. And we also have the ability to then take on AI functions. That's the automated data approach. We're taking in those communications and knowing what time tasks are being delivered, and then looking at things like, okay, how can we follow up with people automatically? So having to say, hey, Mikey, what's the status of this task, becomes a thing of the past. Or handing off work in a sequence of events, like every time you produce an episode of Startup Grind, or maybe creating a podcast is a better example. You have to invite guests, record the podcast, transcribe it, caption it, do social media clip designs, write a blog post around it, syndicate it out, post it on social, and those steps are the same. So we have a product called StartADAM Production Line, which you install in your Trello or Asana, ClickUp, Monday, Wrike, whatever tool, Notion that you want to use. And you trigger the task, and it then allocates the task to everyone on your team, internal or external freelancers even, or even external platforms, and manually checks in with everyone, following up with them. You can communicate with everyone on whatever comms tool anyone is on. So you could be on Slack the whole time, and they could be, one step could be on WhatsApp, one person could be on Telegram, one person could be on Discord, Slack, Microsoft Teams. So really creating this embedded experience where independent contractors become really a member of the organization. I think that's what's lacking with every freelancing platform and every independent contractor experience. They don't intrinsically feel like a member of your virtual team.
Interesting. And I think that's very interesting, because I come from a background where I've worked with a large corporate Fortune 500 company, and I've had my fair share of startups and projects along the way in my career. And I remember when you approached me with this idea before you even hit the ground running, man, the problem that I just remember that what I believe was solving something of significance was this communication between the various platforms. And I don't think that, in my opinion, I don't think it's only going to be a solution for freelancers. I think this can be a solution for corporate organizations and large bureaucratic organizations. And why I say that is because even though you're working for a large organization, you're still using the likes of Slack, of Teams, Asana, sometimes Monday.com. And with my experience, I've used various of these platforms that you've mentioned, and I do believe that the communication between them is often what deters people from actively engaging and actively using them, because now you have to have 3 or 4 things open now. And I suppose what StartADAM, in my understanding, is creating is almost this pivot and this bridge between these various platforms, obviously amongst the other things that you had mentioned. But I think that problem alone is solving something that has a lot of value in the market. And just talking to people within my network and explaining to them the solution that you're trying to create is something that a lot of people are looking for. And I think it's one of those things, once you have the solution, will you actually have your market fit? And obviously you've been doing your research around that. But I think this holds no bounds, because like you were mentioning with regards to these various marketplaces coming up all the time, there's also a lot of these tools that are coming up, like Monday.com, these Notions. Everything is becoming a lot more easier to communicate, but if you're using that one platform. But we all know, and especially freelancers, they're using various platforms for the various clients that they're working with. So I 100% see the value in this. And I do believe that it has legs to run. And going a bit forward now, Adam, with regards to StartADAM, where are you at now? What are your next steps, and where do you see the future of this product?
We are sort of on the tail end of development, looking at deployment and then early alpha beta testers. Our marketplace product is ready to go, which is great. And then the consumer facing, like business facing features should be live in the next week or so. Certainly for alpha testers, which is great. We're also building out what we call blueprints, which are pretty much our internal language for new features. Blueprint is a workflow that sits on top of this communication and project management layer, and that's where the fun stuff actually happens. Sort of the AI stuff that my CTO Barreto is particularly excited about, and that's sort of where we can do our fun R&D. So we're looking at sort of partnerships with payment providers to automate the way that payments get done, and one of them, production line that I mentioned before, or team rewards, where if someone has delivered 5 tasks on time in the last 2 weeks, you can automatically it'll automatically ask you if you would like to give that person a $50 gift card. OKR management is another one, where you have a team who needs to track their OKRs. It can do it automatically and follow up with them until that OKR report is actually assigned and completed. So there's lots of little fun ideas that might not end up being fun. They might actually be
Mm.
quite practical. But yeah, it's a pretty modular technology that we're building, so it should be a fun rest of the year for product dev.
Okay. And the intention next year is obviously to roll this out. What is the approach that you're going to be taking on? Obviously, Speedlancer is going to be forming part of your beta testing, I would imagine, right? What is the approach for going to market that you guys are going to follow?
We're looking at a few different go-to-market angles. One in particular is marketplaces, um, and working with them, partnering with them to provide this marketplace connect facility, which will hopefully be a nice way for us to gain, I guess, product reach as well, because marketplaces have a lot of different clients, and then we're looking at similar verticals that you might be able to fathom or imagine. That I'll keep a little bit to my chest for now, but within that communication marketplaces sphere. So that's getting exciting. We're just closing up a BD and product hire at the moment from a very exciting large company who's going to be joining us, and that's going to be critical. And then some B to, I'll call it, yeah, B to SMB sort of marketing and and some virality, product led growth. Like, for example, if a freelancer, as you mentioned, the perfect use case, without even me saying it, which is interesting, but if a freelancer uses different tools, so how can we target freelancers themselves and maybe give them a free product that helps them manage their clients all in one place? So the freelancer could be on ClickUp or Trello, and the clients can be on any tool that they like. So we're looking at different angles like that, but it's difficult when you're an early stage startup not to get too distracted by lots of opportunities.
Yeah, no, and I think the way you were very cryptic there, I found it super fascinating because I know there's very cool things to come, and I trust you on that for sure. And I think a lot of the people that would be watching this, and a lot of the people that form part of the startup grind community, have either started their own company or in the process of starting their own company, or maybe haven't taken the risk or just don't know when to actually make that decision. So having started now, StartADAM, and been obviously very successful with Speedlancer, what has been some of the challenges with StartADAM that you didn't experience with Speedlancer that you're experiencing now?
I guess a very long development cycle.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one for me. Normally,
Yeah.
every startup playbook says like do the MVP and just get people using the product. And um, this product, for whatever reason, it's a significant build. I mean, there's just so much infrastructure to play with. It's not like just going to Zapier and saying, "Hey, please make these things connect together."
Mm.
Um, Fortunately or unfortunately, but it's been quite interesting to see the just sheer levels of complexities here to do this not only as a platform that can send a couple of messages, but one that can actually scale to the level that our customers will hopefully need us to do. So that's been a challenge, is like just front loading the development cycle and just the in-depth product like rigor that we've all been applying as a team to make a product that not only works but is seamless, and preferably looks good. But yeah, that seamlessness, that we're going to be the application without an application, which is
So,
a
so
platform without a platform.
are you saying that it's not a simple API integration like everyone asks? Is there a simple API integration? This is quite a well-used term in the startup world, particularly in the tech space. But no,
It's funny.
I can imagine. I mean, also the fact that you're using the AI is obviously going to create significant complexities to the back end, I would imagine. And the let's start Adam now. You touched on it right now with your team. I know from my experience the importance of the team members and being very selective of the individuals you bring on board, because I see a startup as a relationship, and the only way a relationship works is if you work at it continuously, and if you understand the person in the relationship, and actually what triggers them and what doesn't. But also the most important thing, which I think is often forgone, is identifying your skills and your weaknesses, or your strengths and your weaknesses from the outset, because I think a lot of times people just assume, and the worst thing you can assume. So I know you've built your team up in a respectively fast time with it. I've been following your journey on social media as well. What was your thought process of identifying individuals to join your team, particularly because you don't really have the engineering background?
Yeah, we kind of have a small, I guess, core team and a very modular, very talented development team, which is certainly an advantage, um, particularly in terms of the ability to scale up when we need to build new features or take a direction or build this product out, you know? So that's testament to Pareto, who really could be doing this call instead of me. Maybe he's your next guest, but
Great,
he's
you'll be on
awesome.
next week, same time, please.
He would be great. AI professor, built out the banking technology of Brazil in the 1980s. It's still used today. Um, Absolute pleasure that we get to work together every day. Privilege, I should say. But the core team itself is pretty lean. Yeah, we'll be hopefully announcing a BDM product hire soon. And then there's me, and we have just a few extra helping hands, and obviously Speedlancer's team is very helpful in the ability to use contractors. And that honestly, it's great. Like it's funny. Every business I've realized is a new. You said it's like a relationship. Like it's almost the business itself is a relationship to contend with,
Yeah,
and get
it
used
is.
to, and meet and understand the flow of the organization. I've noticed that between Speedlancer and StartADAM, like my day is completely differently structured. Even
How so?
a lot more Zoom calls versus Slack messages. That's due to complexity of the product, and also maybe my maturity, I guess, in a way. My last business, I guess Speedlancer came out of my last business, which was very email driven. I never even had a phone call with anyone because I was in class emailing people, So that was, I guess, this is my broadening kind of as a CEO. And then, yeah, so I guess every business is different. But what I have noticed is that the ability to tap into contractors outside of, like, Speedlancer was dog fooding itself. Like, Speedlancer was using its own product, but starting a new product and having Speedlancer as a resource reminds me again of like how important independent contractors are for every reason. Yeah.
I think that's great because first of all, I appreciate your constant humility and humbleness, and I'm sure Pareto and the rest of the team at Anya can attest to that. And I know you as a friend, and I know the value you bring, so I don't doubt that they don't feel the same about you. And it takes a very driven, ambitious individual to drive something that is incredibly complex, and to do it in the time frame that you've done is obviously testament to who you are and the team that you've built around you. And one of the things that you did touch on right at the beginning is that your dad, the stories you've told me about your dad being an entrepreneur, obviously you've leveraged a lot of the learnings from him and the advice. Would you say he is the individual you look up to most? And I understand if he is, but is there anyone outside of that that you really look to for inspiration? And I'm not even saying like the likes of Elon Musk or the Steve Jobs. Is there anyone that you like to apply your thought processes to things, or what you aspire to do, the morals that this individual applied? It doesn't even have to be an entrepreneur.
That's really interesting. I've noticed a lot that I guess like like probably my sister in a way. She's an artist, and it took me. She was like 17, came home with this amazing piece of work that, in my opinion, looked like the Mona Lisa or something. And I was like, "What are you? What? You just went to an art class and you came out with that?" And it just blew my mind. And then I realized, like, it caught me by surprise. I was like, how come she's creative and I don't have any of that? And then I realized that business is creativity, and my form of art and expression is business.
Yeah.
And she's media savvy and quirky where I'm not, and like can paint. It's incredible. And she works in advertising for a large consulting firm, and she's absolutely killing it. So yeah, I guess like just that sort of like any creative inspiration is sort of my inspiration, not necessarily. I don't think business is the be all and end all format for creativity. I think it's art and expression and outlets and the journey and all of that sort of thing.
I wonder. So the way you've described it now, and I think you're almost breaking down these invisible walls, or maybe even these silos that have been created inherently or innate in individuals throughout time, particularly people in business, maybe being egotistic in the sense that they don't view creativity as an important source of inspiration, like you just mentioned now. And I do believe that as companies like StartADAM come about and they're creating collaboration across various channels, across various industries, they're breaking down these perceived walls or industries of business art. Because what you're doing is essentially an art form. And it's not deemed that way because of the way society has perceived business and particularly entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, since I can remember, has always been put on this pedestal where you believe that it's this journey of making money, driving lavish cars, living on yachts, like it's always portrayed on social media. But we all know that's not the case most of the time. And I think it's important to look for inspiration outside of your network and outside of your know-how. So, for example, learning a new language or something of that nature will definitely inspire you to maybe add a different perspective to your business. And I can see StartADAM really by the way you're talking, and just even looking at the color scheme of your logo, I can see as one in which is going to be fun and quite modular and flexible. And it sounds like you are open to changing things. And the one thing I've always loved about Speedlancer, and now obviously you're taking those learnings in that business and essentially fueling up StartADAM, which is what it sounds like, is your ability to focus on a problem. And I think with StartADAM, you're solving a great problem. And it will be interesting to see how the market takes this up. What do you think some of the challenges you are going to experience by trying to get this product to market?
Jesus, so many challenges.
Yeah.
The first the one that needs to be there is getting the product to be so user friendly. And I think one of the things that we're really focused on is being that platform without a platform. Barreto called me a few weeks ago and he's like, we're not going to have a login. I was like, what? How can we be what are we if we don't have a login?
What are we? Who are we?
How does this work? What is this magic? And he says, remember, we're the platform without a platform. I was like, yeah, but what does that have to do with not having a login? And then he reminded me that actually we just need to authenticate apps, and like that's the login. So you'll go to hello.startadam.com and you'll authenticate a project management tool, a communications tool, and the feature that you want to use, and Bob's your uncle, as we say. So I think that's the most important thing is just creating a seamless product experience that's like just so easy to use. So I make it sound simple, but we're not there yet. So that's a big part of my focus is we're working with very talented geniuses who can do anything, and conveying our product philosophies. Pixel perfect has become terminology that they've really tapped into. But not from a design perspective. We've taken it from it to a communications management and application perspective. Even the way that follow-ups get done, in the frequency at which they get done, we're using Fibonacci sequences to follow up with people by using Fibonacci ratios to be the most natural in a product in a follow-up sequence, right? Or little buttons and emojis and use of those. So really pixel perfect on that side of things. And actually, we're looking to bring on board like a dialogue experience expert. Barreto can tell me the name of the person, but like the type of person, but a UX person for dialogue.
I'm just reading his comment here. Login adds no value. I love that. Make it lean.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's great when the team is aligned. So that's the first challenge. The second one is choosing our priorities. You know, are we going for partnerships? Are we going for marketplaces? Are we going direct to customers? Are we going for viral growth? Which area of our product are we going for? API versus self-serve? Which market segments within each of those? So those are the primary challenges, I would say. Luckily, I don't think technological. I think we're past that, which is amazing. But it's user friendliness and focus as a company.
I love the term that you used, the pixel one, right? I mean, if you were to use that terminology a few years ago, it would be completely perceived in the wrong way. And the reason why that sparked an idea in my head is because, and I'm sure a lot of the people that are engineers on the call, is nowadays an engineer is a person, is a developer, right? They do back and front end. I studied civil engineering. I can't say I'm an engineer anymore because people automatically assume that I'm an engineer. That's interesting because the terminologies are changing as we progress. So Adam, we're coming towards the end now. If anyone has any questions, please shoot them through in the chat. I have 2 more questions for you. So the name StartADAM. Everyone automatically assumes it's because the name is Adam, but there's a lot more to it. Can you just explain how the name came about? And obviously it stands for automated data or automated management. Where does the inspiration come from that? Also the color palettes. Just tell us a bit about the product and the brand that you're trying to create.
So the name itself, it was originally going to be Chime. And the idea for Chime was that it, because we're doing a lot of reminding of like following up with people, it'd be like a gentle chime that signals a nudge. A few people told me that there's a banking platform called Chime and another SaaS called Chime, and
Amazon uses it called Amazon Chime as well.
Yeah, Amazon Chime, and the team didn't really like it, but I thought it was kind of descriptive. I was on a sales call for Speedlancer with this potential client, and we just got chatting. It's a LA-based guy, and he said, "So what's it called?" I said, "It's going to be called Chime." He goes, "Why Chime?" I explained it to him. He's like, "That's the what, not the why." So, all right, that's interesting. It is the what, it's the ding, not the why is there a ding, you know? He said also it should be a 4-letter name. He said the best companies, most defining companies in the world are 4 letters. Nike, I can't think of any of them right now. I think of 0 companies right now.
StartADAM and Nike, the only 2 companies.
Yeah, exactly. It's the only 2 that matter. Not even Apple. But anyway, we'll go with Nike. Is 4 letters and it's defining. But he called me later and he's like, I found the name. I was like, all right, what is it? He goes, it's Adam. And I go, mate, that's my name. What are you talking about? He goes, hold on a second. He goes, it's an acronym. I was like, all right, I'm listening. What's an acronym for? He goes, automated data, automated management. And I was like, aha, because we'd just spoken to the team earlier in the day. Or I'd just spoken with the team earlier in the day, and they said they wanted a persona as the name. And the persona would be like you install this person in your organization, and Adam handles the follow-ups and the payments and the logistics of production lines and OKRs and gifts and communication. So much more personable. And so I told the team, and I'm like, but it concerns me because it's my name. I was like, isn't it narcissistic? And everyone said, it's not narcissistic if it wasn't your idea. It's like, all right. And then I think it was Barreto that said, if you don't like it, you can change your name. That's when I got the hint.
And what would your name be?
Probably my middle name, Josh, or something.
So I agree. I like associating a human name to something, particularly for this, because you're going to be connecting various platforms and people are naturally going to refer to your company's product. And I think referring to Adam or StartADAM, however that will be spoken about in organizations, will be interesting just to understand. But having a human name, humanizing the whole process, is essentially having someone that you trust to connect all these dots. And I can see that boding well with your users. All right. So, Adam, we've come to the end of my questions. I want to thank everyone for talking on the chat. Loretta, I'll definitely need to meet you in person, or you're actually in Brazil, so we need to jump on a call sometime. I'm sure Adam can arrange that. But Adam, before I end off, is there anything you would like the audience to know? Any asks that you have? Although you're a well-established entrepreneur, we do have a community of entrepreneurs, investors, and people that are very well versed and very well networked. Is there anything that you need, maybe that the audience can help you with?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone would like to beta test for free, feel free to send me an email, adam@speedlancer.com. Particularly interested in any task-based or task-driven organizations or marketplaces, agencies, freelancers, anyone with a team that's hyper task-driven or gig-based would be really interesting. So yeah, feel free to email me and I'd to hear what you think of it.
Awesome, and I'll put Adam's information in the description. I won't put your email, Adam. I'll just put the website. We don't want to be sharing that online. But the last question I have, it's pretty much a cheesy one, but it's always perfect to end off on. It's one in which you would have heard, but I always just find it interesting because the question kind of indicates where the person is in their life or what inspired them. Is so like if you had to have lunch with a person that's dead or alive, who would that be? Or we can be more fun. If you had to go out on the weekend bender, which are the 3 people you would take along with you? You choose.
I'll take the first question.
Okay, all right.
1 is easier than 3.
So Bevan's already selected himself.
Mate, we've already flown in a helicopter and played golf. I think we've done that. We'll do it again, don't worry. But we've already done it. We have to pick someone I haven't. Bevan's an awesome guy from a payment platform called Deal, which is I think probably the fastest growing SaaS ever. And Bevan's the legend out there. So okay.
Whilst you're answering that, I'm just going to put my email in the chat. Bevan, reach out to me if you want to come on StartADAM. I'd love to interview you, man.
Nice. I would have to say Elon Musk. It has to be, right? Like, I think regardless of what people think about him, he's sort of he's innovating, right? Like, it would be amazing to catch up with Elon Musk.
Yeah, I think for me, my answer would be the same, not only because I'm South African, but just the boldness of the individual, the willingness to put everything on the line to create something that people actually don't see right now at face value. And I think for me, that is truly what differentiates an entrepreneur just from a businessman. So having said that, I want to thank you all. Adam, I want to thank you for your time. I thoroughly enjoyed this. For those of you that are watching this on the YouTube channel, please become a member of the Startup Grind West LA community. We are going to be having more virtual as well as in-person events going forward. And yeah, thank you so much, Adam. Take care. And thank you to everyone that joined.
Thanks, Mikey.
Cheers,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone. See ya.
Bye.